John McEnroe is here. He just got inducted into the Tennis Hall of Fame. During his 16 years on the professional circuit, he won the singles title 3 times at Wimbledon and 4 times at the U.S. Open. The King of Queens never left the crowd down, hitting great volleys, throwing terrific tantrums. Here are some career moments from the U.S. Open.
For the 3rd year in a row, John McEnroe Jr. is the United States Open champion. And there's little doubt about who's number 1.
And there is this. Here are what some of the people who've appeared on this program over the years have said about John McEnroe.
McEnroe was so, absolutely, he was a great athlete, and he was so unique in the way he hit the ball. I mean, the way he served, the way he volleyed, it was all touch and just beautiful to watch. And you know, there aren't, you know, I can't see a player in the next 50 years, or, you know, to play like McEnroe. I mean, because you're just born like that. You're just born with the hands and the feel he's got and his anticipation. I mean, it's so unique because the way I play is pretty straightforward. I mean, the way he kind of glides around is something that I've never seen before and probably won't see as long as I'm living.
The tennis is still the fun part, but still being able to play McEnroe some matches like that is a lot of fun too. I mean, just anytime we get on a court together it's. I want to go back and say, boy, I wish it was 15 years ago in the finals of an Open or a Wimbledon or whatever, but we still bring out the best in each other.
He was the best opponent for you.
He was. Yeah, he and Borg, and between the two of them, I would pick McEnroe only because our games clashed and our attitudes clashed, which brought out more than just tennis. It brought out crowd appeal. It brought out the best tennis in us, but you never knew what was going to happen when we got together beyond the tennis, and that to me was pretty exciting.
McEnroe.
The most talented, easily.
Why? What is it he have?
Great hands. He can do things with his hands that the rest of us have to, by the numbers, out of an Army manual, think about doing. He doesn't have to think.
It's just instinctive and automatic for him.
It's just there. The timing is there.
Yeah.
Yes.
He seems to keep the ball on the racket longer than anybody. I mean, it's almost like he pushes it further than anyone else.
Yeah, he's someone you cannot copy.
Yeah. You agree with most of what they said?
I'm going to have to agree with it. Pete's not a bad guy after all.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that. The Hall of Fame. How do you compare that for you with winning Wimbledon, with winning the U.S. Open, with having all these guys say what they just said?
Well, you get to be an old geezer like I am. I'm approaching 40. You actually, those are the things you think about a little bit. How you can be viewed, the history of John McEnroe on the tennis court. And let's face it, the ultimate achievement for any athlete is to be in the Hall of Fame. I must say, since they've faxed me with the news that I was put in the Hall of Fame, unlike baseball and football, a little different, I feel quite lightheaded, and it's quite a nice feeling. Even walking around the streets of New York, people just stop me, and people you probably wouldn't expect would know anything about tennis, so it's quite gratifying.
Now, are you mellowing as you approach 40?
I'm mellowing, but I'm far less mellow than the average 40-year-old. So I'm mellower than I was at 20 or 25, where there was intensity to burn. So I try to use the intensity that I have I have 5 kids and Charlie is 6 on the way. So that alone is going to fatigue anyone.
Did you say what on the way? A 6?
A 6 on the way,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but you don't have a name for that person that's coming to you?
Well, I'm trying to push Patty to name it Patsy.
Patsy? Patsy
McEnroe. It's a little girl. Our second girl. I've had 3 with my ex-wife, Tatum O'Neill, and Patty had one other child before we met, and so it's half a dozen at the house. I mean, we're talking about Mr. Mom has gone to work a little bit, and certainly made me appreciate getting out there on the tennis court. When Jimmy was talking about the seniors tour, which we play now, The miracle is that we still have an incredible amount of intensity. We're at the moment, I don't think we're speaking to each other.
I want to get to that in a minute. I know about what happened in Dallas. I don't want you to tell me about it. Let me just go back to the hall, though, and to players. Where do you place yourself? I mean, who played the game, in your judgment, better than you?
Rod Laver was my idol. So no matter who you compare him against, he won 2 slams. I can't speak for anyone before that. I didn't see Don Budge play. I heard great things about Lou Hode. You hear about the Jack Kramers. I saw Gonzalez. He'd have to be in the top 10. The people that I would put ahead of me would be Laver and Sampras. I would put Sampras in terms of what he's accomplished.
13 Grand Slams.
I think he's at 12. He'll probably be I don't know when this is being aired, but he may have 12 by the time it's being aired.
It's being aired tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, he'll still have 11, I think. But he's pushing Emerson at 12, but I don't think he's in that league. He stayed amateur for a long time. The thing, quite frankly, it's hard to compare because Laver would have won 20 or 25 of them, but he turned pro after he won his first Grand Slam. He couldn't play any of them for 5 or 6 years. He would have won a number of those. So this is sort of with a grain of salt, this talk. This is trying to, more than anything else, is trying to bring up the level of interest in tennis. I think that sometimes people make way too much out of it than the actual facts. Gonzalez, I believe, won 1 Wimbledon and no Open, and he's one of the top 10 greats of all time. I'd like to put myself, let's put it that way, in the echelon, maybe perhaps around the Connors and Borg and Gonzalez and Kramer, among others. I didn't see those other, but Lou Hode, I heard a lot of people have talked that for that 4 or 5 year period, he was as good or better than Laver. I never could see anyone ahead of Laver because he won 2 slams, and the way he played, I'd go out and try to imitate him. And Pete has brought this game up to a different level in terms of the power. I mean, he's shown what you can do with all-around ability.
He's got everything.
Because quite frankly, he's one of the few, if not the only guys that has the all-around ability with the power.
You're playing in the seniors. You just had a sensational year. You won.
Thank you. You're one of the few that may know that.
You won. You were the best. Number one. Connors had been number 1 before. You're number 1
every
now.
year. Yeah.
Why are you doing that? What is it you want to accomplish? What is it that draws you to play?
I get more sleep. When I'm at home, being with all the kids. That's one.
So sleep is one thing.
Keep it in shape. Let's face it.
Well, you had to get in shape to play.
Well, you'll never get the competitive blood out of you, Toto. I don't think there's any athlete that ever, the adjustment from playing to the real world, you start to appreciate, most players, you start to appreciate what you had after you've lost it. This is in some ways, no, it's not a second chance to win Wimbledon, but it's a second chance to be competitive, to play against your peers. And now, as I've gotten to 40, and they're talking about 30-something, they haven't even decided what year it is. I mean, I'm trying to pin them down to say, do you have to be 35, 34? What is it?
Nobody can tell you?
They put in Wielander in Europe, who was 32 years old, Forget. These are former top 10 players. Wielander won 6 or 7 slams. They've got to make a decision in order to get some credibility. We'll never even be on the par with even something like seniors golf. So, and as I've said to many people, it beats the hell out of working for a living.
But the point you make is that it's what you're a tennis player, and what you want to do is play tennis. I mean, that's the driving passion of your life.
What you want to do is play tennis. What you don't want to do is the traveling that goes along with it, which drove me out, that and losing every tournament. I mean, quite honestly, I had a tough time dealing with not winning any more majors the last 6, 7, 8 years of my career. I was winning some tournaments, but the last year I played, which was '92, I didn't win any tournaments. And I got to the semis of Wimbledon the last year I played. I played Agassi, which I considered to be a great draw at the time. I mean, Andre Agassi had never gotten past the quarters of Wimbledon, was not considered a grass court player, and I would have played the mental midget, who I consider to be a mental midget, Ivan Izevich, who clearly has proven that over the years.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's not his strong suit. Let's just say that. He's got
serve is his strong
one of the
suit.
biggest serves in the history of tennis, without question, and he's a better player.
But he's not